Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.
Hey, beautiful people, this is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues. It is Saturday, September the 6th, 2025. Folks, tonight we are going to go into depth and show you how Iraq and Vietnam are both doing the same things at the same times to prepare their currencies for higher rates. Also, we're going to touch on how the Fed is dead. All right, before we get into the call, let's get into some prayer. Father God, we thank you. Always, we give you honor. We give you glory. We thank you for allowing us to be here one more time. We thank you for life. We thank you for breath. We thank you for this blessing that you are blessing us all with. We thank you for the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding. Father, we even thank you for the ups and the downs that we all have gone through to prepare us for this moment. Without all of the ups and especially the downs, which are where the lessons come from, we would not be in the mindset that we are to be able to receive this blessing that you are bringing before us. We ask that you give each and every person a sound mind, a sound heart, and the discernment that they need to make the best decisions as they prepare for this blessing that you are bringing before them. In your precious name we pray. Amen. All right, folks, real quick. Some announcements. Of course, Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room is now a read-only room. That is where, folks, many of the members that you've heard, that's where they came to get the information they needed to prepare for their exchange and establish relationships with the actual bankers. That is where also members come. You can come every day to get Goldilocks articles there, as well as Goldilocks Room. But the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, there is a history, a bevy of information to help prepare you for the exchange with your bankers in that room. And you're able to go back in the history and see it and follow it. There's even a syllabus where you can click on various past calls that we've done, even with members who have established relationships. You can sort of get a play-by-play so that you can duplicate the same results. But that is where you go, Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room. Then we have Dee's Room, where she drops articles on a daily basis as well for what's happening in the global financial system. Then we have Crypto Finance Newsroom with Dave, Rose, Big Dog. That's where all your questions related to crypto, you're more than welcome to go there. Then we have Goldilocks Global Banking News, the daily podcast where we bring the breakdown of Goldilocks articles in real time. Goldilocks is bringing and showing every single day what's happening related to the RV, a play-by-play. You do not want to miss anything that Goldilocks is bringing regarding the RV on a daily basis. You do not want to miss anything. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Goldilocks Global Banking News, and make sure you set your notifications so that you don't miss anything. Folks, you got to realize we're going to touch on this tonight. It's getting hotter and hotter. We're getting closer and closer. So you must get yourselves ready and prepared and have a plan for this event. All right, tonight we had, I don't know if Love Dahlia is here. We scheduled her several weeks ago to be on tonight. That was before we took the room to read only. If she's here, Love Dahlia, raise your hand. If not, we will continue with the call and move on to the articles. Love Dahlia, if you're here, raise your hand. I haven't confirmed with her. It's been about 2 weeks since we scheduled her to be on tonight. But all right, so let's go. Let's get into, is Peculiar Ram here? If you can raise your, I don't see you, Peculiar Ram.
Hello.
Oh, there you go. I should have known you were lurking in the background.
I'm right here.
Lady?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, Thank you. You had a restful day?
I did. How about you?
Yes.
Good,
Yes,
good,
I
good,
enjoyed
good.
it. Yes.
This was
Well,
my first Saturday off all year.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow, a
so
year.
yeah,
Good for
all
you.
year.
Good for you.
So
Good
I
for you.
I, I I made up for it.
Good for you. Good for you. I'm gonna ask you a question. It's off the cuff. When's the last time
Mhm.
you communicated with your wealth manager?
The last time I communicated with my wealth manager was this past Tuesday, I want to say.
Okay. I was just
This
curious.
past
Okay.
Tuesday. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Excellent. Folks that have established relationships, it's amazing. Just continue to keep those lines of communication open with your bankers. And for those who have not established any relationships, it's best that you do as
Yep.
quickly as possible, folks. All right. So, let's get into. Oh, Wiley, if while you're here, Wiley, if you can unmute, if you want to, there's anything that you want to share before we get into the articles tonight at all,
Hey,
my good man?
Wiley.
Hey, Peculiar. Hey, Freedom. No, I'm good.
Hey,
I'm ready to roll.
okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
All
Let's go.
right, let's go. All right. Wait, folks, we all know what the very first, we start at the root of it all. When President Trump was actually not in office, but last April 2024, the leaked article about the currency revaluation from the Trump administration officials. This is what we're going to always start out with these calls on Saturday night. So that it's a constant reminder how the RV happens, what's behind it. Let's go right into it. Could you, Rand?
All right. Currency revaluation is likely to be a priority for some members of a potential second Trump administration, mainly because of the viewpoint that an overvalued dollar contributes to the trade deficit, said one former Trump administration official, adding that Lighthizer and his team are the primary advocates for the approach. But weakening the dollar could have other far-reaching consequences, from sending consumer prices for imported products soaring to inviting retaliation from other countries and threatening the dollar's role as the world reserve currency, which would undermine U.S. sanctions on adversaries like Iran and Russia.
Mm-hmm. Currency revaluation, folks, is likely to be a priority for some members of the second Trump administration, mainly because of the viewpoint that an overvalued dollar, if you all remember that seesaw, that the analogy that we used last week, the U.S. dollar was at the top. It was at the top of the side of the seesaw. So all the other currencies were at the bottom, low. So that means that their values, the currency's values were low. But now there's a switch, as it says, but weakening the dollar. Now, also, don't want to forget, it talks about the trade deficit, which, of course, through the tariffs that Trump imposed on all these different countries. And then the weakening of the dollar. So that dollar that was once strong, powerful, meaning that it was utilized just about for every country around the world through trade, the dollar is now beginning to become a lot weaker because countries are beginning to ditch the US dollar for their own currencies. Tariffs, folks, actually forced many of these countries to begin to utilize their own currencies. This wasn't it wasn't by accident, these tariffs. This is something that Trump has been talking about since the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, these tariffs, which we're seeing, is making a shift away from the US dollar, and these countries having to, or well, now more so utilizing their own currencies. It's all by design, folks. And it's all by design because we have a new digital banking system that all of the countries around the world are prepared to participate in. We're going to touch on that tonight. Iraq, absolutely, as well. Vietnam, as well. All countries, folks. All right. Now, if you all remember, July the 1st was the Basel III endgame mandatory requirements that went into effect. All the banks around the world, meaning with Basel III, these banks had to have adequate amount of gold. What's going to back our currencies? Gold. So all the banks had to have an adequate amount of gold in their reserves. They had to have an adequate amount of foreign currencies in their reserves. So that's various currencies. And they had to have an adequate amount of cryptocurrencies in their reserves. These are safe haven assets in all the banking systems around the world. So for all the currencies that we hold, that we are waiting for them to go up in value, those central banks for those currencies, they had to have the assets to back our currencies, so that in the event of any financial crisis, we will have a safe haven. So now we're going to touch on what's going to happen with Basel III on October the 1st, whereby now on October the 1st, what was initiated on July 1st becomes now fully functional on October the 1st in all the banks. And this is important, folks, because this is where, if you thought of where the money comes from for not exclusively for the RV, but the money that the banks need in the new banking system will be fully functional. The RV that will eventually come, our monies will be protected as a result of this. Let's jump right into this. October the 1st, young lady.
On October 1st, 2025, Basel III requirements for the global banking system is expected to be functional. This will enable banking systems to be able to have enough liquidity to carry us into the new digital banking system.
1 second, beloved. That's important. This will enable banking systems, folks, to be able to have enough liquidity. If anyone doesn't know what liquidity is, it's money. So this will enable the banking systems to have enough money, and that this money is not just cash. It's gold. It's foreign currency reserves, and also digital assets, cryptocurrencies. So this is the money. These are various forms of safe haven assets that will be able to back our currencies, back all money in the new banking system. This is where the money is coming from. This is where the money is coming from in the new banking system. And it's all done electronically. The gold is already in the banking systems. Go, young lady.
We can expect some volatility during this time as digital markets and digital banking systems integrate into a single, cohesive, collaborative effort.
That's
Next
very
stop.
important.
Mhm.
1 second, beloved. That's very important, folks, to understand that in the new digital banking system, now it's being integrated. Goldilocks is stating that it's into a single, cohesive, collaborative effort. So think of all of the banks, the Central Bank of Iraq, and the various banks in Iraq, the Central Bank of Vietnam, and all the banks in Vietnam, the Central Bank in the United States, and all the banks in the US, whatever country you are located in. Think of all of those banks that now will be dialed in, connecting into one electronic system. Although each bank, each country has their own what is called a payment system. Those payment systems are like side roads, if you will. And then there is a link to the main thoroughfare, the main road, which is the digital banking, the new digital asset banking system. And what bridges the gap between those side roads and the main road, what bridges that gap is the digital assets such as XRP, such as gold, so forth and so on. This is what will fund, this is where the money is coming from in the new banking system. So yes, folks, and theoretically, this is where the money is coming from for the RV. What will happen, even these assets that are continuously rising in value, gold rising in value, cryptocurrency rising in value, foreign currencies rising in value. These assets are in the banking system. They will provide the liquidity for the new banking system. Therefore, they will provide the liquidity, the money for the RV, for our exchanges. Yeah, I know many of you have been told before where the money is coming from, but I am going to ask a rhetorical question. If the money for the RV was coming from these countries having a large amount of in-ground assets, gold, so forth and so on, how come the RV hasn't happened yet? If that's where the money is coming from, just think how many of us have been told that because Iraq, Zimbabwe, all these countries have all these in-ground assets. Let's say gold. They're so wealthy. Their currency is going to be so high in value. But guess what country has the largest amount of gold? It's the United States. But what's the value of the dollar? A dollar? The United States dollar is actually a lot less than a dollar, less than 80 cents. But we got the most gold. So wouldn't that, if the theory was correct, that because of a country having so much in-ground assets, wouldn't the dollar be more than a dollar if we have the most gold? So you have to understand where truly the money comes from. It's from the assets in the banks that actually the value of those assets increase in value and create the liquidity. They create the money. They create the money that is necessary for the exchanges and the new banking system. I hope I explained. Did I explain that effectively, my good
Yep.
lady? Okay.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I ever explained that before. I know Goldilocks has put it into article, but I wanted to emphasize that. Now let's get into Goldilocks wanted to share something with us all, and let's understand what Goldilocks is sharing with what Ram is about to share with you all. This will set the tone for you folks to understand what is going to happen with the value of these currencies that we all hold and many of the currencies that many of us may not even hold. Let's jump right into that. Several of you.
Several of you have been following the Goldilocks team for several years now. We have seen many aspects of the new digital asset-based trading system come to life. We are at a point whereby those who have invested in the new system and new assets coming back on board, such as local currencies, begin to create a volatile market. Many of our assets will grow inside of this new environment, such as you are seeing with the base metals and some cryptocurrencies. There are a few local currencies that are also witnessing new demands on their use. Because of these new changes, we will see their growth.
1 second, beloved. This is very important, folks. There are a few local currencies, folks, which are many of the currencies that we hold. Goldilocks is stating that those currencies are witnessing new demands on their use. Let me explain that. Goldilocks has shown, and it is now for those who have done their research, who have done their homework to read for themselves, will see that that currencies go up in value from what? Supply and demand. Supply and demand. So therefore, when Goldilocks is stating that local currencies that are witnessing new demands on their use, that's because the demand for the Vietnamese dong is going up. The demand for the dinar is going up. The demand for all these various currencies are going up. Why? Because the demand for the US dollar, which was once the big bully pulpit, the US dollar, the demand for the US dollar is going down. This is the weakening of the dollar. As the leaked article from the Trump administration says, currency evaluation is likely to be priority for some members of the second Trump administration, larger part to the viewpoint of the trade deficit, but weakening the dollar. Folks, the value of our various currencies, of the various currencies around the world, the volatility is being created for them to move and for their demand to go up because the demand for the dollar is going down. Why is the demand for the dollar going down? Because the dollar is getting weaker. So what Goldilocks is stating is that the demand for these currencies that we hold, they are reaching a new level of demand. So when you think of the foreign investors that are flocking to Vietnam, not just physically, but also flocking to their stock markets, the demand for the Vietnamese dong is going up because the demand for the Vietnamese dong is going up because it's it's needed. So therefore, the need for the dong, which is the demand for the dong, creates the value of the dong to go up. Like the less the need of the dollar is going down. Therefore, that's why the US dollar is getting weaker. If you pay attention to what President Trump did by implementing these tariffs, and there's still some more that are in negotiations, he forced the new system. He forced the volatility. Tariffs forced countries to now rely more on their own currencies than the US dollar. Because as these countries are facing these increased tariffs, it would cost them more to do business around the world. It would cost them more in trade to utilize the US dollar than to use their own currencies. Before, it was profitable for these countries to use the US dollar in trade because they just manipulated and devalued their own currencies. They're not able to do that anymore. Go, young lady.
It is important that all of us have a strategy going forward.
Mhm.
Some assets will climb faster than others the rest of this year based on their use case scenarios that will drive the market into new fundamentals, utilizing new assets that will create new pathways inside of our new financial system.
Mhm.
We have come a long way together, and the next few months we'll see many changes that will turn to our favor.
It is important, Goldilocks is stating, that all of us have a strategy going forward. Folks, this is where you must have a plan.
Yes.
Goldilocks is stating that some assets will climb faster than others the rest of this year. Folks, what Goldilocks is stating, some currencies are assets. So when Goldilocks is stating some assets will climb faster than others the rest of this year, that's gold is an asset, silver, various precious metals are assets, our currencies are assets, digital currencies are assets. So when Goldilocks is stating that some assets will climb faster than others the rest of this year, based on their use case and what this means, folks, it's based on how these assets are used, are utilized. As the demand for the dong goes up, that means that the usage of the dong goes up, so does the value. How in the world can something go up when it's not being utilized? How can an asset go up in value if it's not being used? Does that, just think about that?
Mhm.
How could the dinar go up in value when it's only utilized in Iraq? No other part of the world, not in trade, but only in Iraq. Think about this. I want you to utilize your God-given discernment and put some logic in your head to know and understand. Think, how could the Iraqi dinar that is only used in Iraq, and actually for many years, it wasn't the only currency. The US dollar was used in Iraq.
Yep.
So the demand for the Iraqi dinar wasn't there to justify an increased value in the Iraqi dinar. So cars, prices, the prices of vehicles, well, they have a set market value depending on the make, model. But a vehicle that is in high demand doesn't have a higher value, higher rate, higher price. It's no different. There's a high demand for Mercedes, a high demand for Rolls Royce and all this, but that doesn't mean people can afford it. but there's a high demand and there's a high price that you're gonna pay. The demand for the dinar wasn't there. The demand for the dong wasn't there. The Vietnamese central bank and the government for years manipulated the value of the dong. The more they pressed, the more they kept the value of the dong low, the more money they made in trade, because they used what currency in trade? The US dollar. So now they're dropping the US dollar in trade. They're not going to shift to use Mexican pesos in Vietnam for trade. They're going to use their own currency. Folks, these countries are becoming sovereign. So I just wanted to express this to you so you understand, so that when you hear various things about these currencies, I want you to have a logical mind to understand, to give you a base, to give you to give you some sort of understanding of exactly what goes into this, Goldilocks is consistently showing how this is happening, how the markets is turning, how the RV will come, and what's involved. So when Goldilocks is stating it's important for us to have a strategy, this is what Wiley, myself, Goldilocks, and the tribe have been stressing the importance of for so long, for the last year. Being prepared, folks. So Goldilocks is stating we have come a long way together. In the next few months, we'll see many more changes that will turn to our favor. Folks, Goldilocks can actually see the charts, the analysis, which shows future projections, present and future projections of rates. Not the actual final rates, but the movement in the rates, I should say. That's where the volatility that Goldilocks speaks of. It's the shifting in the rates, folks, it actually can be seen. It's being tracked. But you have to have a license, as a licensed fiduciary, a licensed entity, a licensed trader, to be able to see this, to see the rates and the volatility moving. This is why so many of the actual bankers and the firms are sharing the movement of the currencies that they see through their newsletters, sending it out to their clients, which many of our members are their clients, because they're sending this information out about the currencies because they are encouraging members. You may want to take a look into this and invest in these currencies, because we see we're the firms, we're the wealth management firms, we're the tier one banks. We see what's coming. Okay, young lady, you can continue.
Just a few more steps, my friends. Some assets will begin to float and others will significantly change in the first half of next year. It is time that we pay attention more than we ever have before. But it's also important that we enjoy the ride and know that the path in front of us will change us in many ways we never thought possible.
Folks, this is very important what Goldilocks is stating. Some assets will begin to float and others will significantly change in the first half of next year. What if Goldilocks can see these changes ahead of time and is trying to warn us, to prepare you? Peculiar Ram, you've gotten this sort of information from your firm, your wealth management firm, showing the movement in these currencies, no?
Yes, absolutely. I'm actually waiting eagerly until next week. So I can get
when their
the monthly
news,
stuff.
when the monthly newsletter comes out for your firm next week.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm
Okay.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah. So, folks, many of our members that have followed the 8 steps that Wiley, the tribe, has shared, just like Peculiar Ram, and she is set. Many of our members are set. They're getting updates from their actual bankers. Are you getting any updates from any bankers about currencies? Are you prepared? You have any trust accounts set up with them? Do you have any sort of relationship with these bankers who can only accept and will only accept a few clients? And if you are thinking that they're just going to be desperate for you because you're going to have a lot of money, folks, that is not the case. These wealth managers and these bankers, folks, they already have a set amount of clients that they can accept. Some 100, some 50, some 75. But folks, You have someone that may only accept 100 clients, but already have 99 that they've had for the last 30, 40 years. It's not going to be a bevy of bankers that are just going to just accept you because you have currency, you have money coming to you. You may just have access to Johnny or Amy who just graduated from getting their licenses and their securities degrees and whatnot to as an intern. They might be available for you, but you're not going to get the cream of the crop if you keep waiting. All right, young lady, let's go to the next. Go ahead.
The next paragraph or the next
Yes,
article?
ma'am.
Oh, the
Next
next paragraph.
paragraph.
The truth we have known in our hearts for so long is about to shape our minds and hearts. Many of us will leave old friends behind and take on new ones as a part of this new journey. It is the way of life as we have been taught from the moment we were born. You can do it, for you were born to do so.
Folks, you must understand, this is a spiritual event. The RV, I know many of us get caught up in the financial benefits of the ideas that we have, the goals, the ambitions of what we want to do with the money, who we want to help, how we want to help, the generational wealth we want to leave behind, the lives we want to change, first and foremost, our own lives. But above and beyond any of that, of what we may want to do with the money, there is a spiritual component that supersedes anything physical that we have aspirations to do with this money.
Mm-hmm.
So you must understand that when Goldilocks is stating is that it is the way of life, folks, that many of us will leave old friends behind and take on new ones. It's like many of us, it's going to be sort of a rebirth, like we're born again. You're going to come into a new world, a new beginning. You will shed some of the old, and many of us are shedding old relationships now.
Amen.
Family and friends that we thought we would carry on into the shift, we found out that it's best that we leave them behind. So what Goldilocks is stating is that this shift, leaving the old friends and old people behind, is the way of life, as we have been taught from the moment we were born. Goldilocks wants you to understand that we believe in you. If you don't believe in yourself, we believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
And you must understand and believe that you were born for this moment. This is why this is a spiritual RV before it is a financial RV. You were born for this. Just like when we were born, we are given distractions by immediately as a child. We are given distractions for us to not know who we truly are, the power of within ourselves. We're given distractions by political, religious, societal norms. How to think, what to believe, so forth and so on. These many distractions, what school you should go to, who you should associate with, so forth and so on. Then as you get older, you realize you need to shed some of the things that you were taught because you grow and you evolve. Folks, you're going to come into this wealth. Many of us in Dinar land have been given distractions to distract us from the truth and the true empowerment that we were actually born to have. When many of us are born, We come in from the darkness of the womb of our mothers, and we're born into the light. When the doctor spanks us on our booties, there's a universal language that every baby speaks all over the world. I don't care what language you're born, what country you're born into, what dialect, what language you begin to learn from your parents. We all speak one language, and that's as a baby, and that's the universal cry of love. Every baby cries out for love from his mother or from her mother. You got to realize we're born into this opportunity. There is universal love that you must understand, that you must take into your next phase of your life. And that love oftentimes requires us to set boundaries and remove people from our circles that do not deserve the love that we now have.
It's kind of like the reforms that we see the countries doing. Almost like a spiritual evaluation of each individual's life. We want to talk
Yes.
about an RV, the reforms are the shedding away of old people, places, and things. We're going through
Yes.
reforms, spiritual reforms as we speak. The trials and
Yes.
tribulations, like you said, the good and the bad. It's
Mm-hmm.
all reforms for for your new rate, for your new
Yes.
life, for your new
Right.
journey. Like you
Right.
said, the spiritual RV, and for that to
Mm-hmm.
happen, old things have to fade away.
Mm-hmm.
Old reforms, old things that did not serve you have
Mm-hmm.
to go away. New laws, new boundaries, so to speak, need to now
Mm-hmm.
be put in place for your new life to get ready for the RV. Because like you said, it is spiritual. And everything that we see the countries doing and we see globally,
Mm-hmm.
it's always a way that you can tie it to your personal life and see, well, how can I get ready for this? How can I prepare? How can
Call's
I
over.
renew and reform?
I don't need to say nothing else. That's it. She said it all right there. Let's go. Boom. Mic drop. Yes. I love it.
Boom.
Boom.
But yeah, it mimics.
Mm-hmm.
Each individual life I feel like is mimicking in some way, or they can find a way to relate to
Mm-hmm.
the global uh
Yes.
preparation that is
Mm-hmm.
going on for the RV and use it to strategize and like you said, prepare. And like Goldilocks says, have a strategy to move
Mm-hmm.
forward because these countries know what they're going to do. They're getting prepared for the RV and post RV. What are you
Mm-hmm.
doing for the RV in your own life?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a rhetorical question for you.
Right. I like the way you said that. And when you just said, I like everything you just said, even just what you just said about these countries are preparing for the RV, they're preparing for the new rate. Folks, just think,
Yeah.
are these countries waiting for someone to tell them what to do? Are they waiting for a notification?
Mm.
That's a rhetorical question. So, these countries, folks, like Peculiar Ram has just said, they've been preparing for this. The Article 4 consultations by the IMF has been preparing
Yeah.
these countries by consulting them years in advance. And when Peculiar Ram speaks of these countries reforming, they're shedding their old ways. All these countries, including the U.S., shedding the old ways of banking, the old ways of utilizing their currencies for
Doing
the
business.
new,
Mm-hmm.
an old ways of doing business, which no longer serves them. Not just them, the United States, all of us.
That's
We
right.
are now into a new digital banking system. The old system had to be reformed with a new system, new mindset, new ways of conducting business, which what comes with it is new ways for their currencies to be rated, their new currencies to be evaluated. But that comes from the new digital banking system which is the foundation of the new way the new existence, the rebirth of these
Mhm.
countries. And
Yep.
if many of you may not know, but we're in a new banking system now. And what let's just like Peculiar Ram just shared by Goldilocks on October the 1st, it's totally new functional with the new system. It's the rebirth. The world is being reborn. Behold, all things become new. This is the
Mhm.
this is the shedding, folks. So the old way, the last 20 years in Dinar land was the old way of thinking,
Mm.
the old system. Just imagine
Yep.
if what people have been hearing is the same thing for the last 20 years. Isn't that all old? How does it apply in the new? It doesn't. What's the saying? You can't put new wine in an old bottle. I don't remember. Well, you should know this because you ran my wine,
Oh,
but
why you
I don't know
call
what
me
the
out?
saying is. or brunette gray. I don't know. Whoever, I know someone knows what I'm trying to say.
I heard
Or,
it before though.
yeah. So, folks, this is I love Peculiar Ram's analogy, folks. This is the reforms and we're going to touch on the reforms. Iraq just met a final reform that they had to implement on August the 31st, or else they was about to be slacked up with sanctions by the U.S. and they were going to remain in the old system. But they met their deadline. We're going to touch on that. But let's touch on briefly Vietnam. Speaking of reforms,
Mhm.
what we're going to share with you now by Goldilocks is something that we shared with you last week regarding Vietnam and credit growth. And then right after that, we're going to share with you that Iraq did the same exact thing. These are reforms. Go ahead, young lady. Vietnam. This is from last week,
Vietnam.
folks. We're just repeating this from last week just to show you
Mhm.
the correlation. Go ahead.
Vietnam is in the process of planning to remove credit growth quotas on the Vietnamese dong. Several tests to the Vietnamese dong price will happen between now and 2026. Look for volatility and opportunity for floats.
Didn't Goldilocks just say floats, folks? Floats,
Mhm.
folks? Try to say that several times. Go ahead.
Credit growth quotas will allow the Vietnamese dong price to be determined by market forces.
Meaning that the markets, see, folks, let's just say, what if the old system, I'm just asking a question. This is I'm just making you think. What if the old system was a system that, boom, someone could snap their fingers and all of the rates change at one time?
Deadly.
I mean, you talking about bankrupt a country? These countries, the third world countries, they wouldn't be able to function a rate that just flip of the switch and they all function, just move to a whole extreme rate. Folks, this has been a process. So let's say that's the old system. These reforms move them away from that into something new. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a need for reforms. So just think, are you following and believing something that no longer exists? Something that doesn't apply to the RV? I'm just asking the question. I'm not making a statement. I'm just asking the question to make you think, but making a statement at the same time. Okay, so now this is Vietnam and their credit quota system, whereby the banks in Vietnam will now be able to provide loans on a large scale to their constituents, to their people, and to investors. You got to have a decently strong currency to provide loans and credit and billions of dollars of credit. You got to have a currency that's pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Vietnam just implemented. Now let's get into what Iraq, a reform that Iraq just implemented as well. And folks, everything that Goldilocks shares is from the CBI. It's direct from the source. Let's go right into it.
Assessing customer creditworthiness in Iraq is governed by a combination of regulatory controls primarily enforced by the Central Bank of Iraq and aligned with international standards such as those set by the Financial Action Task Force. These controls are critical for financial institutions to mitigate risks associated with lending and to comply with anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Below is an overview of the regulatory framework for assessing customer creditworthiness in Iraq, with specific details drawn from available information.
Okay, pause, beloved. Folks, isn't this what we just read that Vietnam is doing? So Iraq is assessing customer creditworthiness governed by the regulatory controls primarily enforced by the CBI and aligned with international standards. Folks, this is Iraq being reborn. And these standards, which are set by the Financial Action Task Force. What is that, folks? That the Financial Action Task Force is the agency that puts sanctions on countries. Iraq met those reforms. They met the sanctions. They implemented the reforms. It was about a 12th hour on August 31st. These controls are critical for financial institutions to mitigate risks associated with lending and to comply with anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism regulations. Folks, this is not just solely exclusive to Iraq regarding anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism regulations. Every country around the world, even the United States, Vietnam, have all implemented this. These are reforms necessary to move forward in the new banking system. This is Iraq doing what is necessary to prepare for their rebirth. Can you imagine a baby being born, coming out of its mama's womb, all of a sudden can take a IQ test or become a Harvard grad right out the womb? It's a process. That doesn't work that way. It don't work that way. Being told that Iraq or any country just at the snap of a finger, of a push of a button, what many of you've been told is the equivalent of a new baby being born as a Harvard grad. The doctor slaps him on the butt. He don't even cry. He turn around and say, "What you doing, fool?"
About the clover.
Right? Folks, it's a process. These countries have had to go through a process to be reborn and to get prepared in that process for the new digital banking system. Goldilocks has consistently shown what that process entails. Wiley, so grateful, came along and in the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room, we were able to share with the 8 steps of what you need to do to understand the process that Goldilocks is sharing about the RV and how to get prepared for it with your bankers. Thus lies the results of many of the members you are hearing have heard about their success. Iraq is getting prepared. Vietnam is as well. But wouldn't you want to know at least how this is being done? Or at least wouldn't you want to know what you don't know? What if all of what you've been told has confused you? Does it give you anxiety? We are all spiritual beings in the physical form. You must realize the power that God has given you to understand each and everything we need to understand. Don't allow yourselves to continue being distracted. All right, young lady. Key regulatory controls. I think we're going to hit the bulk.
Key regulatory controls for assessing customer creditworthiness in Iraq. Number 1, customer due diligence.
Customer due diligence requirements, folks. For some of you, this may sound familiar. When we go to exchange our currencies, there's going to be a background check. It's actually called a due diligence check. This was implemented January the 1st, 2025. Iraq, same thing. Due diligence. Folks, just anyone coming into exchange the currency, they may have millions and millions of dollars. Do you think they want to exchange your currency if you're a terrorist? If you're, if you got a background as a bank fraud and
smuggler,
all kind of smuggling, you think they want to exchange your currency? They're like, if you did all these financial crimes when you had a couple hundred, just imagine what you're gonna do with a few million. They don't want it. They don't want you. You'll rob the bank. Probably literally going in with your mask on, talking about, oh, you trying to prevent COVID, but then you pull out a pistol on them. Talk about, I'm exchanging 5 million, but give me 10. They don't want you in there. Come on, folks. So due diligence. Iraq is doing the same thing. Customer due diligence. Okay, number 2.
Number 2, know your customer.
Folks, this is as a result of the new digital banking system. Many of you don't even realize it, but even in your existing bank accounts, when you do your existing banks, it's a know your customer, KYC. This is all digital. This is regulations passed by the U.S. and laws for a bank, a financial institution, to know their customer, know your customer, called KYC. Iraq doing the same thing now. This is Iraq. This is their rebirth. They're being reborn.
Mm-hmm.
No longer the old way of not doing due diligence and not knowing the customers. Just willy-nilly. It could be Habibi, whoever coming in then to get exchange currency. They could be a terrorist. They don't care. They didn't care. It's a new game in town, folks. It's a rebirth, a reborn. These reforms. Go, young lady.
Number 3, anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing framework.
The CBI oversees anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing policies, ensuring that financial institutions implement guidelines to assess customer risk profiles. They will check each and every person, their background, looking to exchange currency, folks, in Iraq. Same thing will be done here in the United States and anywhere in the country, in the world. These are regulations, reforms that they had to implement. Okay, young lady, number 4.
Number 4, creditworthiness assessment practices.
Yes, folks, they want to make sure Iraq has to make that also continues to maintain the strength of the Iraqi dinar, is to make sure and know that there aren't people that are going to be misusing the currency on a large scale. Now let's get into what Iraq was actually facing sanctions, and they had until August the 31st to implement these reforms. Goldilocks reported it last week. They literally had until the 31st of August, or the U.S. was going to sanction Iraq. There was not going to be any possibility of the revalue of the Iraqi dinar with these sanctions. Although you were told on a 3-day weekend, but that's another story. Go, young lady.
The announcement by Ali al-Alaq, governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, regarding the issuance of instructions and controls to regulate the electronic payment process was reported on August 30th, 2025.
They met the deadline.
But it was
They
cutting it close, wasn't it?
They were cutting it close in the 12th hour. The governor of the central bank announced that the reforms were met. They were working on it night and day to make sure they wouldn't get hit by these sanctions.
Mm-hmm.
But they met the deadline. Go, young man. And what does it say? It's the issuance of the instructions to controls to regulate the electronic payment process. Folks, this is the new digital banking system, not the old dusty, rusty system that's been in existence for so many years. Go, young lady.
Below are relevant sources that cover this development or related information about Iraq's electronic payment initiatives.
So
Note
Goldilocks
that,
is. Oh, sorry, go ahead. No. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
Note that specific details about the three aspects or the exact mechanisms may require access to official Central Bank of Iraq statements or more recent reports, as the provided references do not fully elaborate on the specifics. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, you're good.
Number one, Iraq Business News. I'm sorry.
Boom. Yeah. No, that's the source. No, go ahead. What she's going to do, Peculiar Ram's going to give you. Goldilocks is providing the sources of where this information is coming from. Remember, sources. You want a source, high level source, receipts. Goldilocks is giving it to you. Here you go. Peculiar Ram going to read you the source, and there's links right here. You could go and check it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Number one, Iraq Business News.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, Iraqi News Agency.
Mm-hmm. And the links
Number
are
three, Iraqi News.
Mm-hmm.
And number four, United Nations Development Program.
Mm-hmm.
All receipts.
All receipts. Receipts. Exactly. Now, let's get to, folks, a very important agency in all of this, the Federal Reserve, and the role that they may or may not play related to the RRV. Go, young lady, the floor is yours.
Okay. When an emerging market economy and its banking status rankings are upgraded, it tends to cause the currency to appreciate. The upgrades signal increasing economic strength and stability, which boosts investor confidence and attracts foreign capital.
Mm-hmm.
This increased demand for the country's currency in the foreign exchange market drives its value up.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. So we're going to get to the Federal Reserve next. This is Vietnam. What Goldilocks is sharing, because Vietnam is presently being evaluated by the FTSE Russell, which, folks, is an international stock exchange. An international stock exchange. which Vietnam previously only had limited access to, and the FTSE only had limited access to Vietnam markets. Those restrictions were because Vietnam operated in an old, inundated, dinosaur age banking system whereby there were no reforms to regulate how they manage or conduct their business with the Vietnamese dong. Goldilocks has been sharing, and we've seen that over the last year, and especially within the last 4 to 5 months, Vietnam has worked tirelessly to implement many. If I would guesstimate, I know a minimum of 30 reforms in the last 4 months. They had a fact, because Ram, if you'll recall this, in around May, March, April, May, June, around May, could you Ram?
Mm-hmm.
On the Saturday Night Dialogues, we went over the articles by Goldilocks where Vietnam is called their National Assembly, which is the equivalent of our U.S. Congress. They had a special session of 35 days. They were in session to pass reforms, regulations, and reforms.
Mm-hmm.
They had 35 new laws, 35 new reforms. Folks, reforms, laws, regulations, all same thing. They passed all 35 within a 35 day period. Reforms.
Yep.
They were preparing for their rebirth of the Vietnamese dong. So this here is now with the evaluation by the which is the FTSE Russell of the Vietnamese economy. October the 7th will be the announcement of whether or not Vietnam will be reclassified as an emerging market economy. An emerging market economy will allow global market access to Vietnam, meaning the floodgates of investors will be able to come into Vietnam. They already are. Investors, the floodgates will be coming to Vietnam. They already are. But more, the official reclassification is like the actual trophy or the actual
ribbon cutting ceremony.
There you go. The ribbon cutting ceremony. And for all of what is being shown in the public in writing and articles by the global financial experts is that looks like a 90% chance that Vietnam will be reclassified as an emerging market. This is just one milestone of what we already are seeing because of the tariffs, the volatility in the currency markets. There is expected to be more volatility in the movement of currencies if Vietnam is reclassified as an emerging market. Many of the bankers, folks, that our members have established relationships with, they're sharing that with them, with our members. Unfortunately, many of you who have either waited or just didn't know about establishing relationships with these actual bankers, you're behind. But hopefully you do something about that. Let's go. Let's continue. How emerging market upgrades.
Yes. How emerging market upgrades lead to currency appreciation.
And folks, currency appreciation. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
beloved, 1 second. For those that may not know what currency appreciation means, I'm just assuming someone may not.
Mm-hmm.
It's the appreciation in the value versus depreciation. So when Goldilocks is stating when this shows how emerging market upgrades lead to currency appreciation, this just what Goldilocks is sharing is if Vietnam is reclassified as an emerging market, they're upgraded, how it will affect the appreciating value in the Vietnamese dong. And folks, there are actually Vietnam has several upgrades that they're in line for, not only just from the FTSE Russell, possibly market economy reclassification by the U.S., the MSCI, which is expected next year. They already been upgraded by J.P. Morgan a few months ago. Their stock market to consider what's called overhaul. There's various milestones. Go ahead, young lady.
Improved economic stability. An upgrade reflects stronger economic fundamentals, such as low inflation, controlled fiscal deficits, and robust GDP growth. A stable economy is more attractive to foreign investors who buy the local currency to invest in stocks, bonds, and other assets.
Oh, this is very important, folks. Listen to this is very important. Listen, improved economic stability. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. An upgrade reflects stronger economic fundamentals, such as low inflation, controlled fiscal deficits, and robust GDP growth. A stable economy is more attractive to foreign investors who buy the local currency, dinar, who buy the dong, whatever currency, to invest in that country's stocks, bonds, and other assets. Just think about it. Has Iraq's economy been stable enough over these last 20 years for investors to invest in their stock market?
Nope.
Has their economy been stable, folks?
Nope.
Has Vietnam's economy? Well, Vietnam now it is, but it hasn't been. But just think about it. This is what's going to draw investors to a country to invest in that country if their currency is weak. Why would Amazon, Walmart, name whatever major corporation set up shop in a country that has a weak, defunct currency? What's the benefit? There is none.
Mm-hmm.
But the rebirth of Iraq, the rebirth of Vietnam, the rebirth of the whole entire global banking system to a new digital banking system, it has enabled these various countries via a level playing field through the new digital banking system to be able to exist and be born into this new world. But I wanted just to plant that seed. How is it over the last several months, years, was it possible for the Iraqi dinar, the dong, or any currency to revalue if those countries were not even attractive enough by the people who live in them?
Mm-mm-mm.
But we're at a rebirth now. Go ahead, young lady.
Increased capital inflows. Upgraded banking status and overall economic ratings signal to international investors that the country is a safer place to invest. This can lead to a surge in foreign direct investment and portfolio investments, creating greater demand for the domestic currency and pushing its value higher.
This is what's going on in Vietnam right now. Uh, do you think all of the companies flocking to Vietnam now, those are foreign investment firms? Do you think they're going in there because the currency they believe is going to remain weak? Do you think President Trump broke ground a few months ago for his golf course, hotel resorts in Vietnam with the expectation of a weak dong? A weak economy? Don't you believe, wouldn't you think that there were analysis and technical analysis and research done ahead of time? You don't think President Trump's firms, you don't think Donald Jr. and Eric and Ivanka and the rest of them and his whole team, you don't think they did their due diligence on Vietnam ahead of time?
Oh, they did. They did.
Go, young lady.
Higher interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
Central banks in emerging markets may raise interest rates to manage inflation or attract foreign capital. Higher rates offer a better return on investment, making the country's bonds and other assets more attractive to foreign investors who must buy the local currency to invest.
So when these foreign investors come into Vietnam, they gotta buy assets such as bonds and everything else in the Vietnamese dong. That means the demand for the dong goes up. So what goes up? The value of the dong goes up. You see the cause and effect of what causes a currency to go up? Supply and demand. I remember the snap of the fingers. What was that? What was that show with Cousin Ed? The Addams Family? Snap of the finger? You were told to snap of the finger or flip of the switch, just going to all the currencies were just going to go up in rate. This is a process, folks. It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing it in writing and the results and the volatility of the currencies and the flocking of investors into Vietnam. Go, young lady.
Positive market sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Upgrades create a positive buzz or market sentiment around the economy, leading to further speculation and investment.
Mm-hmm.
This speculative activity can fuel the currency's appreciation, sometimes even before the full effects of the upgrade are felt.
Folks, this is what Goldilocks is stating, is that it's like when people started to hear about XRP or other digital currencies, and they said, "Oh, let me hurry and buy it," because the buzz got out, the word got out. It created market sentiment, so people started to flock. Oh, how do I buy XRP? People that didn't believe in cryptocurrency all of a sudden wanted to find out where to buy XRP. How do I get a wallet? Even folks being scammed in Telegram rooms by folks claiming to be other people, impersonating folks. Just so people were so quick to give up their money because the buzz was there. What's happening in Vietnam is because of the anticipation of their economy, their stock market being upgraded to an emerging market. There's been many things that's created a buzz. This is just one of them that Goldilocks is stating. Positive market sentiment creating a buzz. Higher interest rates creating a buzz for investors to flock in. Increased capital inflows. Investors are like, let me dump billions and millions into Vietnam because we know what's coming. This is what Donald Trump did. This is all of this is what goes into play, plays a part in increasing the value of the Vietnamese dong, along with tariffs. But the emerging market, folks, by the FTSE Russell, will open the floodgates even more. There's something called FOMO, fear of missing out. Investors don't want to miss out. They're flocking. Now, if they get the emerging market status by the FTSE Russell, it is going to be a mass influx of investors. And they're going to do it through Vietnam's stock market, all electronically, bank to bank, wealth management firms to the Central Bank of Vietnam, wealth management firms, international, all over the world. In fact, again, like Peculiar Ram and many other members, their firms are already sharing this with them.
Yep. It's no secret anymore.
Not at all. Okay, go ahead.
When a country's financial status improves, the perceived risk of its foreign currency debt decreases.
So the risk, as a country's financial status improves, the risk of investing in their currency, it decreases. So folks, investors feel more confident. It's like, don't you feel more? It's like when you research on Google or something, don't you feel a little more confident when you see 4-star or 5-star review?
Mm-hmm.
The perceived risk goes down for you when they have 4 and 5 stars. Now, if there's 2 stars, 1 star, you're like, I ain't buying that thing. The risk is higher. The perceived risk is higher. When you go on Amazon and you purchase something, I don't know about you. I know what I do. I click on the 4-star and up only products that I want to look at. Something. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure because I feel that this is a less risky. I check the reviews. Absolutely. But this is the same thing, folks. So what Goldilocks is stating is that when a country's financial status improves, the perceived risk goes down for their currency. The increased perception goes up. So the value goes up. Just like when the ratings are up or high for a review, more people buy that product. More people pump their money into it. Same thing here with Vietnam. Emerging market status is a 5-star review for investors to say, so if JP Morgan believes in them, if such and such wealth management firm believes in them, if the FTSE Russell, I'm going to pump some money into Vietnam too. And all these different investors doing the same thing at the same time in Vietnam, the demand for the dong goes up because they settle their transactions in the Vietnamese dong. Where's the push of a button? Just asking. Go, young lady.
This strengthens the currency as investors become less concerned about potential default and more confident in the country's ability to manage its finances.
And the reforms that Peculiar Ram just read by Goldilocks, the credit worthiness, anti-money laundering, all this, Iraq doing the same thing. This creates more of a safer environment for investors to invest in these countries, in Vietnam, in Iraq. Therefore, the demand for their currencies go up, which helps to strengthen their value. Now, let's get to the Federal Reserve. The Fed is theoretically dead. In 2017, when Trump was in office the first time, we showed you an article before how President Trump theoretically took over the Federal Reserve through the U.S. Treasury. It was a restructure. Now, Goldilocks is sharing some very important information regarding that now. Let's go, young lady.
The call for an independent review of the U.S. Federal Reserve, including its monetary policy, has surfaced recently, as noted in posts on X and reported by Reuters. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has been a vocal proponent, arguing that the Fed's independence is at risk due to mandate creep into non-monetary policy areas, such as its massive headquarters renovation project amid operating losses. He emphasized that the Fed's monetary policy is a jewel box that should be protected to ensure economic stability, but its non-core activities warrant scrutiny. This push for a review follows concerns about the Fed's growing institutional complexity and its handling of inflation and economic growth, with some critics, including voices on X, questioning its accountability and quasi-public structure.
Mm-hmm.
The Federal Reserve, established in 1913, operates as the U.S. central bank with a dual mandate from Congress to promote maximum employment and price stability. It implements monetary policy through tools like interest rate adjustments, open market operations, and, in recent years, quantitative easing, which has fiscal implications like, I do not know how to pronounce that.
Senoraj.
Senorage or potential capital gains or losses.
1 second, beloved. Folks, this is important. So, with the Fed's responsibility, talking about several things that Goldilocks just said that they shared that Iraq and Vietnam is doing, and the effects of their currencies, economic stability, inflation, all of these things, folks, are what is necessary, what is utilized to provide stability to a currency. Good, young lady.
Its independence, formalized by the 1951 Treasury Federal Reserve Accord, is designed to shield monetary policy from short-term political pressures, a principle supported by research showing that independent central banks correlate with lower, more stable inflation.
Mm-hmm.
However, this independence has long been debated, with critics arguing it lacks transparency and others, like former Fed Chair Ben Bernanke, defending it as critical to avoiding inflation driven by political influence.
Mm-hmm.
The proposed review could examine the Fed's monetary policy framework, including its 2025 review of strategies, tools, and communications, which involved public Fed Listens events and analytical work across the Federal Reserve System.
So what's happening, folks, is the Federal Reserve is being evaluated. And I think of this as not in the sense that it's necessarily being done now, although it is, but this is, to me, this has already been done. It's just not coming out in the public. The Federal Reserve and the fact that the Federal Reserve, just think, is it really needed? We're moving into a new digital banking system where everything is going to be decentralized. What's the purpose of a central bank? in a decentralized system. Just think about it. Trump knows exactly what he's doing. Go ahead, young lady.
However, the scope of such a review remains unclear, and political pressures, as seen in historical examples like the 1970s inflation spikes or recent critiques from political figures, could complicate its execution. Some fear that undermining the Fed's autonomy, as seen in countries like Hungary and Turkey, risk higher inflation and economic instability, given the U.S.'s pivotal role in global finance. Others argue that increased oversight could address perceived disconnects in the Fed's operations, though scholars note that congressional hearings have historically been ineffective at enhancing accountability.
Mhm.
This development reflects ongoing tensions between preserving central bank independence and addressing calls for reform, with no concrete details yet on how such a review would be structured or its potential impact.
This development reflects ongoing tensions between the preserving central bank independence and addressing calls for reform.
Reform.
That's for the central bank to be reborn or rebirth.
Mhm.
Actually, is to be rolled potentially under the U.S. Treasury. A new, away from the old into the new. The next one, the role of the Federal Reserve System. Go ahead.
The role of the Federal Reserve System is about to change. Honestly, it just simply isn't needed as it is now in the next financial system where real values are at play.
Real values in the new system, folks, where real values are at play. See, because the old system, whereby the central bank, the Federal Reserve, was in control of more than what they should have been in control. In the new system, real values, the real values is the revalue of the new system. Now, the beautiful She-Hulk shared with us, Peculiar Ran, the Bible verse I was trying to think of, and it's very apropos to everything we just said. If you could read that, please, if you don't mind. Luke chapter 5. Hallelujah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Someone also sent me a DM too explaining it as well. That's
Okay.
amazing. Luke chapter 5, verse 37. And no man putteth new wine into old bottles,
Mm-hmm.
else the new wine will burst the bottles and be spilled, and the bottles shall perish.
Just think about this. And no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine will burst the bottles and be spilled, and the bottles shall perish.
Amazing. Can I add 2 extra scriptures for
Please,
people's
please
reference
do.
pertaining
Yes,
to
indeed.
that? That was
Mm-hmm.
DM to me.
Please do.
The
Can you
DM
share
said,
it? Can you, if you send it to me, I'll share it into the room.
yes. Let's see. Matthew 9:17 and Mark 2, verse 22.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought you were going to share the actual DM so
Oh
I can
no,
share.
I was it
Go
was a
ahead.
little
Okay, okay, go ahead.
summary that goes with it that they
Okay, go
sent
ahead.
with me. It
Go ahead.
says, where Jesus explains that the new spiritual realities of his teachings cannot be contained in old frameworks or rigid mindsets, also
Mm,
meaning new fermenting wine. So that was just kind of like a summary, but I'll also
yeah.
get those and send them to you as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. So
Mm-hmm.
just think about it. Think about it, folks. When you think about this, think about everything you've been told. If you didn't know, possibly you didn't know, we're going into a new system. I would imagine the majority of you know now. So how is it possible the old can coexist with the new? No man putteth new wine into an old bottle, else the new wine will burst the bottles. How is it possible that Iraq would go into a new system, a new global banking system with their old ways, not meeting international standards, getting sanctions put upon them, not being compliant with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank standards? How could Vietnam be able to revalue their currency if they continue to operate in the old way of devaluing the Vietnamese dong in order to profit with the US dollar on the back end in trade? All of these various countries that were doing the same thing, utilizing the US dollar in trade. Folks, that's the old wine. The new banking system is a new bottle and new wine. You can't bring the old into the new. But is it that many of us have been told that the old is the only way? Be ye not deceived.
That's right.
Now, I'll just say this for those who want to hear it. Maybe they didn't know what they were saying to you all. Okay. All right, beautiful folks. Let's see.
We are still held accountable for what we don't know as well. Life doesn't really
very, very true.
care that what we don't know. There's still consequences. You could be jaywalking and get a ticket, but you didn't know. But it doesn't excuse the ticket, you guys. So
I'm so
be
glad you
diligent.
said it. I'm so glad you said it.
Keep
Because
your
the
head on
freedom
the
fighter
swivel.
says it. Freedom fighter said he don't like my Sesame Street guru. So
Tell him Peculiar Ram said it. Now we're gonna stop.
Awesome. All right, folks, we are nearing the end. Wiley, did you want to share anything, add anything, my good man, before we go home?
I'm all good, Freedom.
You all good? All right. Thank you. All right, Peculiar Ram. And let's see. Did you want to summarize anything here, young lady, with your infinite wisdom?
Don't do that. You put me on the spot.
I put you on the spot.
No, I just want everybody to realize, the closer that we get to the day where this room is no longer available, you guys, we don't have, a whole lot of time when you compare it to how long many of us or many of you guys have been in this investment. So it really is time to stop putting new wine into old wineskins. It's time to do the reforms that are necessary. Because like Freedom Fighter said, I believe you said it was Vietnam who had like 30 or 40 reforms in like the past 4 months.
Yep.
They're doing what needs to be done. And Freedom Fighter, Wiley, Goldilocks, they can't be more clear in them wanting you guys to really tap in and lock in. They can't say it any other way. The reforms are necessary, even in our individual lives, because it's not a game. And we were chosen, and we need to take this seriously and take this investment seriously. And as we see everything that is developing and coming to pass, we just need to get our house in order and pay attention, honestly, because it's getting real. I wake up excited every day. It's getting real. And, the crutches are being taken off. Like we always talk about the other countries individually. The crutches have been taken off, starting with the group being read only. It's time to stand on your own 2 feet and put to use what we've all been gathering and getting. The information is so valuable. It's priceless. And it's time to do our own reforms, you guys. There's something, there's at least one thing in each and every one of our lives that we can reform.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And folks listening, if you you can click the link at the top of the description you can join the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room. You'll have access, although the room is read only, you'll still have access to all of the wealth of knowledge and information regarding
Mhm.
what is happening with the RV, the 8 steps, the prepare so that you can prepare, for this blessing. It's all there, and you have access to it. All right, beautiful folks. Everyone, you enjoy the rest of your night. Everyone, be well and be well. Take care.
Good night.
Good night, folks.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.